All right, guys. So Oscar and I participated in the local qualifier at Dream Days in Wilson, North Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's actually in Wilson. And kind of wanted to just give a little bit of a recap on A, what we played, and B, kind of like our general experience. If you play Final Fantasy TCG, there's a very good chance that you've purchased cards from Nerd Labs already. Nerd Labs has nearly 2,000 completed sales in just over the last 11 months or so, with overwhelmingly positive feedback. We're on TCG Player, but just as a little hint, if you follow the link in the description, there's no price floor when prices are updated on a daily basis. Always happy to support the stack. Let's get back to the video. I ended up taking a Siren build, and I contemplated multiple different ways to take this build and eventually decided on this exact list that you're looking at here. And I ended up placing 13th overall in the event. It was a very weird day with tiebreakers. My round one loss definitely put me really far behind. We had some slight mishaps in the first game, but I'll go over the list first, and then we'll talk about specific matchups and kind of like my thoughts on those. But as far as the list goes, I've kind of fallen in love with this list lately. I've been really trying to make this shell, quote unquote, work. The whole idea is that it is a water earth list in and of itself, and then you kind of have a splash element. This particular case is a splash of lightning. So the reason that I chose lightning for the event was because it has probably some of the more powerful summons in it, and because it has Chadley. The whole idea behind the deck is to get Siren, Man in Black, and Shinryu out onto the field. Shinryu kind of goes and cleans up the board for you, while Man in Black kind of helps put pressure, single target pressure, to where your opponent can't attack or block with those like single target forwards, and then Siren literally just protects the board. I think overall the entire day, I want to say Siren. I distinctly remember one whiff, but I think that's the only one that I truly remember. It may have whiffed twice, but obviously the deck has 9 forwards in it, so mathematically it's built to not whiff, obviously as least often as possible, or as seldom as possible rather. But so the whole idea is we have several searcher backups like Rydia. Rydia is going to be able to grab us a summoner and a summon. So obviously the line usually is to go Yuna here, and then any other summon that isn't water. Originally, instead of Man in Black, we were playing Seymour from Opus 16, and that was our other summoner target with Rydia. But kind of last minute, not really last minute, but in the last week coming up to the event, decided to go with Man in Black for a specific kind of turn-by-turn loop that we'll talk about here in a second. Tyro goes and gets any of our forwards. Thornton goes and gets anything we want, typically one of our forwards. And then once we kind of have our forwards established, typically the first one that we're going to go get is Shinryu, because Shinryu will also go get the other forward that we need. So your biggest thing is getting Tyro or Thornton to get Shinryu. Shinryu can then search for your Siren, and then you can kind of just play it out from there, protecting your Shinryu and just building up your ability to board wipe, essentially. All day long, I did basically draw into some really weird situations. I did play the one copy of Medine because I had the promo, the full art promo, and I wanted to show that off. I didn't hate the fact that I included it at all. It just did gum up the hands sometimes. I did have, I think, 2 rounds where I mulliganed, and I'm pretty sure I mulliganed into 2 light cards, and it was a really awkward start. But it's not that bad. Like, it doesn't feel that horrible in this deck. As long as you can get one of your backups that searches, whether it's Rydia, Thornton, or Tyro, you're pretty good in terms of a decent start. From there, we have the oh shit button in form of Shantoto. I did play the one Cryol because it was an EX burst, and I thought it would be nice if, Siren dies at some point. She is category 5, so Cryol can get her back. Plus, if I do hit her off an EX burst, she gets back the whole plethora of summons that we do have, so she was pretty good for that. I did run the one Matoya as another oh shit, let's clear the board kind of button. I never played her, not once, and I don't feel bad for it. And she gave me the option to hit the oh shit button, but she also gave me the option to add a character back, which is kind of going to lead me into talking about Chadley. So not only did I want to have Lightning because of the EX burst potential in the summons package and the Man in Black in the forwards, but also Chadley. So Chadley from Opus 16, when he enters the field, you place 2 research counters on him. You can tap him and remove a research counter to choose a forward in your break zone and add it to your hand. So effectively for 1 CP, you can add back your Shinryu. So it was very important that I had a way to get to 3 backups. Typically, if you had the Rydia into Yuna, you were already set up on 2, and then all you were basically going to need is the Chadley. Once you had the 3 backups, Chadley being at least one of them, you could effectively Shinryu special every single turn for multiple turns in a row, and that was kind of the idea. I kind of expected Knights to be a big deal. Refia control doesn't really storm the board per se, but you can kind of cut them off before they do get too wide and kind of do some nutty stuff with Ferris sometimes. So the whole idea was being able to recur our Shinryus with Chadley here. And subsequently, the reason that we go with the Man in Black is to actually recur the Ku Siths as often as possible. So it was kind of like, if we had the Chadley, we could do that. If we had the Ku Sith, we could do that. Either way, we could kind of recur the Shinryus. I will tell you that the Ku Sith Man in Black loop didn't happen, not once. Every time that I was using Man in Black, I was recurring either the Medine or the Kuchulain, or I did recur this Leviathan in a couple of different matchups. So it's good because it felt like Man in Black didn't need to recur the Ku Sith. It was obviously very pressuring for them to see Shinryu on board, and if I broadcasted that I had another one in hand by either searching it or recurring it in some fashion, they didn't want to go wide. And if they didn't want to go wide, I would just punish them by playing the Man in Black. And a Medine being cast with Man in Black on board is very, very punishing to the opponent, especially during their turn, considering that I can tap one and basically remove something from the game and then stop your other forward from attacking or blocking. So very, very nice. Kuchulain was also very similar in that respect, so that there were multiple times in one of the Knights matchups where I was casting Kuchulain just to blank the Laswell, so that even if he attacked, it didn't do anything, and even if something entered, it didn't hurt me. So I did like the Man in Black for that regard, but it was still not exactly what it was intended to do. So outside of your searcher backups, you really just play a plethora of meaningful summons. And when I say meaningful summons, they need to do something geared towards the meta. So Kuchulain is also obviously one of the better water summons in the game. Not only does it cost 1 CP, but it blanks something and draws you a card, and it's a beautiful EX burst. Medine, I already kind of went over that. Very good, especially with Man in Black. The requirement to have Shinryu on field is kind of iffy sometimes, but like I was talking about before, being that Tyro's in EX, Thornton's in EX, I don't mind taking 3 or 4 damage to really get set up. And I will admit, I don't think I ended a game where I wasn't on at least damage 5 all day long. So it's a very scary give and take with this deck, but it was very worth it because I needed to hit some of these EX bursts to stay alive sometimes. I remember hitting Cuchulainn multiple times. I remember hitting 6 CP Levy multiple times. I remember hitting Thornton, Tyro, all these like meaningful summons. Kusith as well. Some of the matchups I hit more meaningful ones than others, like in the aggressive matchups. Like in round 1, I faced against a Refia Control, and it didn't do me any good to be hitting a Kusith because I mean, it didn't help me recur anything that was meaningful at the time. So it was kind of like iffy sometimes with the EX, but in general, we play the big ones like 5 CP Odin and 7 CP Odin. So these like hardcore just punish aggro decks, right? And like I was speaking on earlier, I did intend to face against Knights, and these were kind of like the best options to just say no to Knights. Not only is Shinryu a fairly large wall that they have to overcome, but even when they do, if they get kind of, if they have some vigilance in them and they want to start swinging, they know that they're going to have to attack into a Shinryu. They know that I'm not going to want to lose it. But also they're going to have to worry about hitting a 7 CP Odin, a 6 CP Levy, or a 5 CP Odin, They're going to have to like really calculate that stuff. We also have 2 copies of Ixion. Only 2 copies because, like I was talking about, Knights is important, and if I want to pay the kicker to ruin a Refia Control, I could also do that. I didn't cast it once all day. And then 3 Mist Dragon. And I'm iffy on the Mist Dragons. I truthfully think that it will do just fine at 2. I used it twice across the entire day. Once to bait out a Refia Control because he had discarded 2 Refias very early for the water CP that he needed. And I basically Mist Dragoned it to try to get rid of the 2, and it baited out him using a Kusith. So essentially, I was drawing a card while making him waste resources, which was nice. And then the second time that I casted it, I literally canceled an Amat. I can't remember exactly what I was doing. I think he casted Amat on the Man in Black trigger. So I responded with the Mist Dragon, which actually helped me, do several blocks or can't block kind of triggers. So that was really nice. But overall, the deck carried me further than I have really ever been. Overall, my score was 3-2. I did lose the first round and the last round. I actually ended up playing Refugee Control round 1. I played... Hang on, I actually have it written down. A Mono Fire Magissa Tyvus list. A Mono Water Wool 7 list. Not the Chocobo Joe version. This was like a full-fledged. I run 3 copies of Wool 7. A 4-color Refugee Control list again in round 4. And then I did lose to Knights in round 5. And as I mentioned, I did go 13th overall across the entire day. I think I used my limit break. I think I casted Leo twice the entire day. I didn't really value the limit break as much as I probably should have. Thinking back to round 1, I definitely should have utilized Cloud a little bit more just to help get through some of those breaks. But I'll talk about specific matchups after we go over Oscar's deck really quick. Oscar played a very aptly named Dragoon deck. Dragoon my nuts across your face. So him and I had a very similar game plan, I feel like, throughout the day with the Shinryu packages. So tell us a little bit about yours, Oscar.
Well, let's start off by saying I usually play monsters, and I decided I didn't want to for this. May have been a mistake, but it is what it is. I think monsters would have had a really good matchup against everything that I did play. But I like Dragoons, and I want to try and make it work. And I don't think I really lost any match that bad, except for one match against Refia Control, which I didn't see any Alice at all. Which, if you see Alice in this is what's going to keep you up with Refia Control. But because they have so much plussing, you've got to be able to keep up with that, and that's how you do it. But even then, it's hard to keep up when they've already established. That being said, I went, was it 5 rounds? I went 1 and 4. I did give a match to somebody. We would have tied, basically, draw. I did give a match to him. Out of all the matches, though, like I said, I don't think I really lost that bad. Did you go through all your matches, or were you going to just talk about your deck?
So I was going to go over rounds after we talked about decks. So
all right.
Yeah.
So with this deck, I have a different version where I played Rogajin and the FF 8 package with the Raijin Fusion. But me and Ryan were talking, and he said you ought to try Shinryu, which, to be honest with you, it didn't feel bad. Shinryu felt really good all day, and there was one point in time where I did play the old Shinryu and was drawing 2 every turn on top of the Alice drawing 1, which was insane. And that's the one I ended up giving the match to the other guy, but it was back and forth on that one. I did decide last minute that I have Lightning in my limit break, and it's kind of pointless to have in there. So I got to thinking maybe I should play Ixion just for the matchup against Knights or Ref Hit Control, and even the 7CP Wool. I wanted to try it in case it gets dumped for whatever reason, or I pitch it earlier. I'm able to get it back off of Lightning, which I was actually able to do twice. And it felt really good, and they constantly knew that I had Ixion in my hand, and they were always looking at my break zone like, oh, well, Ixion's not in there. So it kept them from going super wide a lot of times. I feel like it did, at least. They were always aware of it, that it was in my hand when I did get it back. I think I did cast it maybe 3 times all weekend, or out of the 5 games, which isn't bad. But I did get it casted against me as well. On my own Ixion against Wind, they Zidaned it and then cast it against me.
Nice.
Yeah. The Estinian, I was able to pull off the 5 backups Estinian Haste to Dole and attack twice. That was really cool. Trying to think. The main core of this deck is just to establish backups. I got a high backup count. And I think the way that Dragoons get their power is through backups. That way you get buffs off of the small Dragoon. And also you get your damage buffs off of the Freya special. So you're going to run the 9 copies of Freya in this. And along with all your backup setting on board, you're going to be able to consistently board wipe for 10k, roughly. At minimum 10k, I would say. Usually I had at least an 8 to 10k every time I did it. And I Freya special quite a bit the weekend. Other than that, I mean, it's basically just standard Dragoons. Just trying to get them out there, and Freya special and Shinryu board wipe. We wanted a non-targeting board wipe, so what's better than Freya and Shinryu?
Yeah.
And Ixion at the current moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was fun day. Not too bad. Got to meet some pretty cool people and have some good games.
Yeah. Did you, by chance, ever cast Leo?
Yes, but let me tell you this. It was in a dumb moment.
Okay.
I had a couple of those this weekend, and me and Ron were talking about this after the fact, and we're not the best players. I have a lot going on, and like personal life, I got a bunch of stuff, and we're busy, and we don't get to practice as much as we like. The more reps you get, the better you're going to be. I truly believe that, and it kind of shows sometimes. As for the simple fact that I was playing Knights, and let me tell you, when I played Knights first, I know we weren't going to be talking about it, but I played Knights first round. I lost to Sid Randall. I didn't lose to anything else. I didn't lose to Knights. I lost to Sid Randall because he actually played Sid Randall I had Shinru in my hand. I couldn't play Shinru to board wipe. I had a Freya in my hand. I was just waiting for the 3CP Cherry Blossom Freya. That's all I needed. Either one Shinru or one Freya, and I could have board wiped his whole board because I had my backups established at that point. And I couldn't draw into it at the time, and he was just able to basically steamroll me with it. But that being said, I did cast Leo when he had Sid Randall on board, and I was like, oh shit, I don't get my draw. So, dumb moment. I don't know why I did that, but I did it, and I was like, well, it's just an extra body at this point to block because I can't do anything else. So that's when I did cast Leo.
Did you try to little Leela the Sid Randall?
After the fact, I thought about it, and I don't know why I didn't. I was just hoping that I would draw into the Shinryu or Freya. I thought I had another turn, possibly. Maybe another 2 turns, but, once they start ramping up, and this guy, I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he really went wide. And had I had that board wipe, I could have board wiped, and I think the tables would have been turned completely.
Right.
So, luckily he had Sid Randall out there, and I wasn't able to do anything. But had I got Freya or another Shinryu, I had the cards in hand to cast it and pay the extra CP to board wipe. I just didn't have it.
Right.
I didn't draw into it. Had I did, that game would have went a whole lot differently because he went super wide. I think he had like 8 forwards at one point in time. So, yeah, he was even casting, he casted Matt from the extra deck. He casted Cloud, maybe? No, not Cloud. What else was? Maybe Zach from the extra deck? Yeah, I think it was Zach. Yeah.
It sounds like he was just trying to flex on you at that point.
Yeah, very much so. And had I drew into a Shinru, it would have been boom, and he would have had 1 card in hand. Yeah. So there was no chance of motting anything or stopping anything that I had.
Right.
And that's why I was like, dude, I have this game. And I just drew into one of those things.
Yeah.
Another Shinru or a Freya. That's all I needed. But that's the way the cards fall, so it is what it is.
Well, since we're here, let's just go ahead and talk about your rounds really quick.
Oh yeah, it's quick. I didn't do good. So round 1 was the Knights, so that's how that went. Round 2, I think I played against, Chaos Arc. Pretty cool guys from the locals up there in Raleigh, I believe. That was another instance where we both made dumb plays. Me and him, and we both openly admitted it. So this guy played. I had Shinryu on board. That was the only thing I had on board. He played Chaos, and he was like, paused for a minute. And I'm sitting here just thinking to myself, and he's like, he just opened his eyes wide and just looking at my Shinryu, and I'm like, you can't take my Shinryu. He's like, oh, dude, you're right. He's like, I should read my cards more. I was like, dude, it's okay. So just a dumb mistake on his part. I've done it before, so it's no big deal. That game went back and forth. We were just changing board states, and I think he beat me 7-6. Partly because I made a dumb move and I had Shinryu and he had Chaos at that point in time, and I attacked with Shinryu and he was already on 6 damage, and 6 damage, and he had Tyro back in the back, and he buffed his Chaos, and then blocked, and I was like, damn, I didn't even think about that, which I should have. As much Earth as I play and many Tyros as I play in my decks, I should know that. But that was a dumb move that I played in that match, and that would have been a turning point in that game, for sure. I think had I kept Shinryu on board, I could have kept the momentum going. Not saying that I would have won. It might have increased my odds of winning. So that was that. I lost that 7-6, which was a good game. Then so game three. Oh, I played. What is his name? Is it Sam?
Sam Tool?
Tool, Sam Tool. He was on Refia Control. That was the game that I didn't see Alice. I had some backups. They weren't that. I just couldn't get it going. To be honest with you, I think I did Shinryu special maybe once. I think, but he was just able to generate so much CP off of reactivating and bottom top decking my stuff, and it just went on and on and on. Like play 4-color wool, draw a card, activate everything back up, dull everything, bottom deck something, stand everything back up, play the rest of your hand, draw a card. It's just so much plus and once that gets set up.
Yeah.
So that's the game that I really lost bad. That was the one game that I actually truly lost. So game 4, I played against a mono win. That game went back and forth. He Zidaned me like 6 times, I believe. He stole a bunch of my stuff. I did make a dumb move earlier because I was in control of that a lot, and I did make a dumb move earlier by not tapping the right backups, and this is what I was talking to Ron about. Playing Dragoons, you've got to be aware of what backups you need to tap down and which ones you don't at the right time. So that being said, you always want to tap down your Alice and your Canes because you don't really get an effect off of them. Yes, Alice will break itself and dole something, but you're hardly ever going to do that unless you're pushing for a game. So I tap down the 2-cost Dragoon that gets one back from your break zone when I shouldn't have, and I left Kane up, I believe it was, when I should have done it backwards and then attacking, and he brought his Atomas out to block my Freya, and I could have added another Freya back and board wiped him, but I tapped down the wrong backup, and I didn't want to say, hey, rewind, it's too late at that point. So that kind of, I'm not going to say that cost me the game at that point, but getting rid of his Atomas would have effectively saved me probably him, I would say a good 10 free CP throughout that game. Easy. Because he attacked twice with it to activate all his backups. Plus, I don't know how many cast 2 activations he got off of it. Maybe even more than 10 CP. Like it's being pretty crazy. So I made a mistake on that, not getting rid of his Atomas and Freya special on him.
Yeah.
And then we just kept playing and back and forth. I did make a super smart play by cracking one of my backups to add something back from the break zone. Then I played Shinryu for the reduced cost, and then searched out the cheap reduced Dragoon to play it, tap 1, play it, and I already had Barber on the field with haste, and I was going out and attacking, and he was really worried about that, and I got him to like damage 6, and then I think we were both at like damage 6, and we ended up drawing, but the last play, it went to time, and on my last round, had I gotten back I had another one to grab back something from the break zone. When I grabbed back the 2-drop that has haste at damage 3, had I dropped back Freya, and I had the CP to cast Freya by ditching one in my hand and playing it. But I didn't, and then I forgot he had Zidaned my Ixion, and he was able to cast Ixion against me when I partied attacked with the 3 and 2, and it broke my 2, and he blocked it and killed my 3. 3 cost, can't remember what it was. It might have been Barbara that he blocked. I can't remember what he was blocking with, but it might have been Barbara. And then all I had left was Cloud to attack with, and I attacked with Cloud, and it was time at that, and I didn't have anything else, so it was 6-6, and I just conceded to him because I was already having a rough day. So I was like, well, maybe your day's going to be better. And let me tell you something, I lost every die roll, and 2 out of the 5 games, I rolled Snake Eyes.
Damn.
Like, that's how bad my day was going. Like, I lost every die roll.
Yeah.
And then game 5, I played Water Lightning FF8-ish deck. I ended up beating it. He's a pretty cool dude. I kind of already knew his deck before he even played it because I played him at the locals in Raleigh on Tuesday. So I already knew what kind of his game setup was, and he thought I was on Monsters, which is what I played Tuesday. And then I started spamming out Dragoons, and he was like, "Dude, what in the world?" And, yeah, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm on Dragoons today, man." But that was a really casual game, and I ended up taking it, but it was just a real chillax game because we were down there at the bottom, and he ended up placing higher than I did. I don't know how, and I beat him, and then he got a bye. He got a bye one round, so we were both 1-4 for the day, and he ended up placing higher. I placed dead last. If that tells you how my day went.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you get a bye, the way that it's counted in the system is 7-0, but somebody that's operated the tournament software may be able to confirm or deny that. But I think that's how that works. So if you get a bye, it automatically sets you up to have a decent tiebreaker down the road, just depending on like how late you get the bye, I guess.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, that's how my day went. I mean, Dragoons felt really good though. Like, I mean, there was times where I was up, and like I said, I just made dumb plays. And I think this is a deck. If you're going to take it to play competitively, you've got to be on your A game, and you can't make those mistakes because you need to take advantage of the mistakes that your opponent makes, and that's how you're going to beat them. This is just it's a more or less rogue deck that can keep up with the meta, but you've got to be able to play it right.
so after the weekend, what would you say are your like number one changes that you would make to the deck?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I might go back to the Rogashi because I mean I don't know. Shinryu did good too. I mean I can see arguments for both. Rogashi gives you a little pressure along with stall, I believe. But at the same time, Shinryu can be pressure as well because once he's up, he's a Braid, not K body, and he's a board wipe. I really don't know. I think it's a pretty good deck like it is. Just can't wait for the Edge to come out for the Limit Break. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That might help me out.
Yeah.
That may help me out some. Other than that, I mean, I think it's just going to be a matter of tinkering with the just what little things you want to do, like what kind of package you want to put in this. Like if you want to do Shanryu or the Rugzine, like you need to test it and see which one feels better.
Right.
Also, like the Arneas. So the Arnea, this is a 6-drop Arnea. I ran one of those and 2 of the 2-drop. And there's cases where the 2-drop is better, and there's cases where the 6-drop is better. I just got to figure out which one I think I like the most. As of right now, I like the 2-drop just because you play it off of 2 backups, reveal the top card. More than likely, it's going to be a Lightning. You get to add it to your hand, and then that's another Dragoon body. And then at damage 3, she buffs everything by 2k, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that,
especially when you have guys that do this.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, even having Frey at 7k first strike is nice, and even the one that's reduced by 1 for each Dragoon you got, he's a 7k body, but with that makes him 9k. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this deck's pretty close to being complete. It's just tinkering with the little things.
Yeah.
To see, and also that depends on what you're playing against, kind of the meta at the time. So, but yeah, I really enjoy this deck.
Yeah, I was happy that you took it just because it feels like you always play monsters, and it was nice.
Yeah.
To step outside the comfort box, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if you've seen that meme where like going outside the box meme. I don't know if this is you. This is you playing Dragoons. where you like go to step out your box and then you get just like pummeled, and then you just build a fortress with monsters and you say never again.
Yeah, that's my comfort zone, and I do it. I think I do play monsters very well. So
Yeah, I agree.
I just know that I know the ins and outs of that deck. But I'm sure if I played Dragoons a whole lot more, I mean, just like knowing the backups would have helped me out a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing when to break them to get something back and when not to.
Right.
I think overextending kind of hurts you because then you're losing CP value in your backups. So you've got to know, is it worth it to get rid of a backup to bring back something, or should you just keep generating the CP off of that backup?
Right.
And I will say one funny thing. All right, so we're at the bottom tables, right? So I'm like, how many tables were there? There was 15 tables?
Yeah, there's 15 or 16 when we started.
Okay, so I'm like 15, okay? The guy besides me is like, oh, Dragoons, a man of my heart, playing a deck that he knows is not good and still comes with it. And I'm sitting here like, dude, you're sitting right beside me. What are you playing? Like, what's that say?
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't say that, but I wanted to. I was like, man, what are you playing over there?
Hello, Pot.
But,
nice to meet you. I'm Kettle.
Yeah. I was like, we're both down here for a reason. I'm thinking that. But nah, I know he didn't mean nothing about it, but it was funny. I was like, okay, it's just ironic we're both sitting at the bottom table. Okay.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else that you would like to say about the weekend, or anything about the deck or anything?
Dude, I feel like the event ran pretty smoothly. I mean, everything went smooth pairing. I mean, it was tight in there, but I think everybody worked together to get to their seats, and everybody was pretty nice in general. And to be honest with you, it didn't stink as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, people, hygiene was okay.
Yeah.
Today or that day, Saturday, the hygiene was okay.
Yeah.
Because normally, dude, I'm a big guy. I sweat. I carry around a stick of deodorant. Ryan knows. He's like, "Hey, you got your deodorant?" Yes, I do got my deodorant. I was keeping it in my bag, dude. I got one in my car.
Yeah.
Like, I just cannot stand BO from the armpits and stuff. And so, but yeah, so that was the biggest plus for the weekend. I think the body odor was not there.
Yeah.
Everybody took their showers, man.
I will say I like looking at the pictures of the store on like Google or whatever. It looked like it was going to be a lot bigger than it actually was, but I feel like they managed with the space that they had very well, and I didn't hate anything about the store itself that we were at. Honestly, it was one of the cooler stores to just kind of like browse around, just because they had so many books, manga, gaming accessories, minis. I mean, they had everything, dude. And it was just really cool to like actually browse around and look at something different. Only because typically, like, if you think about House of Cards, like our home store, it's just cards and card accessories. Like, they do have a little bit of D&D stuff over there, but like it was nice that it was like I don't read manga. I'm not trying to say that I do in any way, because I don't have the attention span to read, but it was nice just to be able to like browse around and look at all the different stuff. It was just like it was a change of pace. It was a different scenery. I highly enjoyed that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I definitely thought that the loft was probably the most unique setting that we've played at. I thought that was super cool, sitting up top and kind of looking down. It reminds me of a house that we went to when I was a kid. So it was kind of like really interesting seeing like cards being played at that vantage point. I don't know why. It was just really interesting. But
yeah, pretty cool.
I do think that everything ran very smooth. Mike Powell, obviously, he was kind of like in charge of the tournament software, pairings, keeping track of everything. And he did do a really good job with keeping everybody kind of, I guess, on top of their game with reporting. He also was recording some of the matches, and he was basically judge for the entire event. I don't think we had a single judge call the entire event. I don't remember hearing somebody yell judge or even ask questions. Like, I was pretty focused in on my games, but yeah, it was really nice. I highly enjoyed what we saw and what we did. So,
oh yeah.
I guess we can kind of quickly roll through my matchups. I'm not going to try to drag this on too long. So, in round 1, I kind of alluded earlier that I played a Refia control list. The only issue that I had with this matchup was essentially I didn't catch it, nor did my opponent. He entered into combat with Refia on the stack. He doled 4 of his Job Warrior Lights to try and spin my Siren or Shinryu 1. I can't remember. I had both of them on the board. I milled a backup, and it, obviously canceled that. So then he restood up everything, and then later on in combat, he spun 4 of his Job Warrior Lights to try and tuck the Shinryu so that he could attack through, and I milled a Man in Black, so it did succeed. The issue there is Refia is only once per turn. So neither of us caught that, and it was kind of unfortunate because, the game kind of just progressed from there. It was like 2 or 3 turns later, I got to like reading Refia. Mind you, I'm reading it upside down, so I'm kind of like half-ass reading it, and did notice that it says only once per turn. So, 3 or 4 turns after that I had realized it, he attempted to do it a second time during the same turn again, and I stopped him and said, actually, no, it's only once per turn. And he looked down and he was like, oh shit, you're right. I said, yeah, we missed it a while ago too. And he was like, dude, why didn't you say something? I was like, I really didn't realize it until like 2 or 3 turns after the fact, and it was way too late to rewind. So, even if we would have called a judge, I feel like the most we would have got is a warning. I don't think we could have rewound or really changed the state of the game unless they were just going to be gracious and give me the Shinryu back on board at that point. But I can't remember kind of what the board state looked like. I can't remember if I had another one on board or not. So that was unfortunate. And he did progress and end up beating me, which was kind of, it's always disheartening when it feels like it wasn't, I guess, how it should have been. Not saying that, like, I don't want to use the words that it wasn't a fair match, because obviously it was. But, like, it's just a little unfortunate that I should have caught that and I didn't. And I feel like that contributed to the fact that I lost. I definitely could have still ended up losing, even if I did catch it, but we'll never know. And that's kind of the unfortunate part, I guess. So round 1 loss was pretty disheartening. Every tournament that we've been to outside of Chicago at this point, I have had a round 1 loss, so it felt like I was slipping back into my old ways. But I did go on to play Monofire Magissa Tivus, which was a really fun match. He put me on 6 damage, probably, I want to say, by turn 3. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, this deck really opens up the more damage that you have, because that's kind of where you continuously generate your resources from, is your damage. And he gassed out 1 full time. He had literally maybe 1 card in hand, and I Shinryu specialed, and he couldn't do anything. And then I kind of like poked at him a few turns. I think I got him to like damage 3, and then he gassed out again, and I Shinryu specialed and just put him to 7. Like, it was just one of those things where, like, he gassed out to try to like break through, and every time he did, it just resulted in something just not quite being there. So it just kind of unfortunate, but I did end up kind of winning that one very, very close. Being on 6 damage is rather scary, but in a deck where you kind of thrive on that, it kind of is what it is. So round 3, I played a mono water wool 7 list, which was pretty interesting in the fact that, like, I think at this point people were kind of getting keen on what the deck was supposed to do, and like every time I played Siren, they would turn it and they'd read it and they'd be like, oh, okay, that's pretty easy then. And then they would proceed to try to like target my forwards for like 3 or 4 turns before they realized like I'm never going to mill a forward. And they were going to, like, even in round 3, that guy was like, let me guess, you don't have like any forwards in that deck, do you? And I literally was like, yeah, there's not many. And we continued to play. I think he put me on 5, probably 6 damage. He did end up... he casted Wool 7, I think, 3 times that game. Because I think he... I can't remember if he actually if he actually casted the Opus 15 realm and bounced his Wool 7. I can't remember if that was the exact play he did, but he had all the big ones. He had Glaciella, he had Wool 7, he had Lena, he had Leviathan, he had the like bee's knees when it comes to mono water, and it was very scary going up against something that was also kind of like, I felt like it was kind of trying to do the same thing that I was doing. Like, it didn't necessarily care that it was on 3 damage, 4 damage, whatever. I did make a very bad misplay in this game where I had all 3 of my forwards out. I was like perfectly set up, and in my brain I mathed it out to where I was going to attack with Shinryu, and then I was going to, on the stack, cast a Kucha Lane that I had tucked for Man in Black, and essentially be able to prevent the Ash, who is a 9k body, from blocking. So I go to attack, and I just stared at him for a second, and he was like, okay, block. And I was like, what the fuck did I just, like, why am I so stupid? Like, I don't know why. I just never fucking Kucha laned, and I just lost to Shinryu. Like, he happily took that trade where he lost an Ash for 1 CP, and I lost a Shinryu, which I probably paid 5 for. He was happy to do that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why am I so retarded? So I ended up still being able to slowly chip away and end up winning that, but definitely retarded on my part. I don't know why I did that. So then ended up winning that, 5 or 6 damage, somewhere around there. And then round 4, I was actually at table 6, which is probably the highest that I've sat in a while. And that was really intimidating at first because I had Ryan Galloway and Will Coghill to my right, and then I was actually facing Sergio, and then I don't remember the guy's name to my left, but he was playing against Sam Tool. So, like, in my brain, I'm like psyching myself out because I'm playing against some rather bigger names in the game. So I ended up going into this matchup thinking that Sergio is on Wall 7 because the Saturday previous to the event, Sergio and I played at the Raleigh Locals, and he was on Wall 7. So I went in thinking he was playing that. I'm like dead sure that he thought that I was playing a Category 14 deck because that's what I was playing against him previously. So it's possible that we both went in with a jaded idea of what the other one was playing, but ultimately I let my deck do its thing. He did slowly chip me up to 6 damage, which, like I said, is fucking terrifying. And the only way that I can win is to slowly chip him up to 6 and then hit 7. So as I start chipping away at him, his 6th damage is a Kusith, and I do not have another attacker. So he hits Kusith, and he adds back Firewind Zidane. Now, it just so happened that for that turn, I top-decked a 5 CP Odin and some other lightning card. I can't remember if it was Chadley, Men in Black. I can't remember. So the fact that I top deck the 5 CP Odin, and mind you, I'm still on damage 6. He goes into his turn. I have 2 cards left in my hand, both of which are these 2 lightning cards. He windmill slams a Leo, draws a card, and then windmill slams the 2 CP Zidane. In response to the activation to Zidane, I Odin it because it has haste. It is going to try to strip away my hand, so this is like, I either use it or lose it, honestly. So I hit it with the Odin, and he has nothing that he can do. From that point, I'm pretty sure he pulls out something else. It's just a non-haster. I can't remember exactly what he pulls out. But after that, I end up drawing a Kusith, and luckily I was able to tap 2, cast the Kusith. I brought back a Man in Black from Break Zone, a quick Man in Black ditch plus another card. I was able to cast Cloud. I broke whatever it was that he had on field. The only blocker he had left was a Leo. So at that point, I had 2 attackers, so I just attack with 1. He blocks with Leo. I attack for the 7th point. Very, very, very nerve-wracking and close matchup. At that point, I'm like literally kind of like freaking out because everybody around me, I'm at like a decent spot, and going into this match, I already felt kind of like a little nervous, but now I'm I'm swinging way above my batting average at this point. So I'm very nervous. And going into round 5, I end up at table 3. Turns out that they swapped the tables so that table 3 could be the feature match, and they were recording it. I don't know where Mike's going to upload all these, but I ended up going up against Knights. And I honestly don't hate the way that the match turned out. I was playing against a guy named Colin, and he was very calculated with how he mapped everything out in his mind. He was actually very kind. A couple of times I did tap the wrong backup and ditched. I still ended up paying for everything correctly, but I wanted to leave a specific color up. For instance, at one point I needed to leave water up so that I could cast the Levy, and I accidentally ditched a water card and tapped an earth card to cast some water card, and I was like, shit. I was like, actually, can I rewind that and do it the other way? And he was very kind to let me do that. There was a couple of instances where he was going into combat, and I did ask to rewind because he, if he did announce, I didn't hear him, but he immediately went to a party attack with a Surgus and a Laswell, and I said, hang on, before attacks, I would like to cast a Cuchulainn with Man in Black on field to blank the Laswell and choose Surgus as the target that can't attack. And he just proceeded to pass after that. He was very nice to kind of be respectful to let me go back when I felt like I had missed an opportunity to respond to something. Ultimately, he did end up beating me. I was on 6 damage for, I don't know, probably 4 turns, maybe 5 turns. He gassed out hard, and I ended up Shinryu specialing him. And I slowly started to poke, and I got him to 2 damage before he was able to really reestablish. So I did as much as I felt like I could in that short little time, but ultimately I felt like I sort of kind of started to draw the wrong colors, and I just didn't have enough established to keep me going. He was able to definitely break through at some point, and that was kind of disheartening, but very, very good match. I did luckily Mike was there, and Colin called it as well, but I did try to 5 CP Odin his Ramza, which is not okay. 5 CP Odin being cost 5 or less. So that was kind of dumb on my part, but it was just, I flipped it as an EX and I was like, ooh, get rid of Ramza. So overall, I thought that I was pretty happy with how it worked. The deck in general, just I kind of like built this a couple of weeks ago. On paper, it looks kind of like crazy. In test hands, it doesn't perform at all. Like, it is so reactive that it's near impossible to goldfish with this deck. Like, you can get 2 turns in and you can kind of like mimic that they're playing something where, you know, they're going to be attacking with, you know, 2 forwards every turn or something like that, but it just doesn't like feel right in goldfish. So the few games that I did play with it, I really liked how it worked, and just decided to take it on a whim. It is very much a me kind of deck, I feel, just because it's different, it's unique, it's something that I like, quote unquote, came up with. Not really. There was a guy that played this at an LQ, and he was playing the Seymour, which kind of why I mentioned it earlier. So it's definitely a fun deck. I do feel like at this point, I have a different iteration that I'm going to be testing out for Virginia, and we will kind of see what that looks like in Raleigh, depending on how the new set shakes things up. But I would be highly interested if anyone else has tried a similar build to this. I do think that Lightning was the most preferred splash color, so to speak. It's not really a splash. I mean, 16 earth, 17 water, and 3, 6, 9 plus 4 is 13. So 13 lightning cards. You know, it's not really so much of a splash as it is like a tricolor deck, but I thought multiple different iterations of this through, and I do think that I'm leaning more towards another iteration for the next event that we go to, but would love to hear thoughts and ideas about this deck. So outside of the event itself, Oscar and I did have a pretty interesting trip back. So we drove straight down that morning. We left from Winston at what, like 8:15ish?
Yeah. Yeah, ish, something like that.
We actually made really good time. Got down there a little bit early. Stopped at the Taco Bell. Got our tummies rumbling before we went to play. And then proceeded to play. Neither of us made top cut, so we decided to kind of dip out early. After we dipped out early, we get, like on the ride home, we're brainstorming, we're, throwing shots out at like, what do we want to change? What do we want to do with this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And then we hear a very distinct pop come from the car. And we both were like, oh shit. Like a mile down the road, maybe a mile or two, we ended up getting a high temperature coolant light flashing on the dash. So we pulled over at a gas station, and we actually pulled over at a Burger King first, and saw that we were leaking coolant. So we kind of like tried to MacGyver our way out of it, and ended up asking for some water cups and then filling up the radiator with water. Drove like another few miles down the road, and coolant light come back on. So then we pulled over at a gas station and actually MacGyvered it. We bought some tape to actually end up like bypassing the coolant reservoir, which was interesting. That was an adventure on top of the adventure at that point.
Yeah, luckily we made it home.
Yeah. We did stop and have my favorite burger place, I had to introduce Oscar to the famous Hops Burger Bar, which was very delicious.
Good. Very good.
I'm never going to turn down going to Hops, but that was good. And then pretty much called it a night after that. I think I literally came home, dude, and I crashed. Like, I fucking slept. I don't think I got up till like 11 o'clock the next day.
Yeah, I think I got home like, I don't know, at 9, 10 o'clock. We left like 5.
Yeah.
Like a 5-hour trip home.
Yeah, it really was. Oh, the one thing I was going to say, I didn't face a single Chaos Arc, which was beautiful. But I don't think that I have a terrible matchup against Chaos Arc, simply because I don't care that you take one of my forwards. Like, it doesn't like, I don't care. You can have any of them. I'm just gonna board wipe it with Shinryu. You can only take either Siren or Man in Black. You can't take Shinryu, so like it never bothered me whatsoever. So I thought that was worth mentioning. I don't think this has a horrible matchup. Optimally you're gonna give them, a 6 CP discount, so Chaos is gonna cost 5. But not perfectly fine. I don't care. Shinryu just kind of does enough usually, as long as you can get it relatively quickly. I think you hold the Shinryu and wait for them to drop Chaos at that point, just so that you can Shinryu special the next turn before they gain the ability to dull the Chaos and break your own forward to break something of yours. So, but yeah. Anyways, I don't know. Do you have anything else about the weekend that you'd like to mention?
No, it's a good time. If any of y'all watch this that were there, what's up? And maybe we'll see you in Raleigh, or maybe at another local qualifier.
Yeah, true that. It was good games. I'm glad I got to meet and greet everybody and have actually some really fun interactions with people. And I got to meet some of my quote-unquote customers from the Nerd Labs. That was kind of interesting. I had good compliments there, so always nice to meet people that you know but you don't know, if that makes any sense. But yeah. So anyways, guess we'll go ahead and close it off here and see you guys in the next one.
See ya.